and grant programs from the Trump administration. Individual assistance, that includes, I'm not naming everything that's included, but just to give you a few examples, Social Security benefits, Medicare benefits, food stamps, welfare benefits, assistance that is going directly to individuals will not be impacted by this pause. And I want to make
Providers who run Head Start programs reported today that they were unable to access federal funds because they lost access to the Federal Office of Head Start's payment site. You also had Senator Ron Wyden tweeting that his staff has confirmed reports that Medicaid portals are down in all 50 states following last night's federal funding freeze, with him then calling the move a blatant attempt to rip away health insurance from millions of Americans overnight and will get people killed.
So I have a question. Okay, check this out. It's a real simple one. Trust me, you cannot fail this, okay? What do you get when you vote for a clown that also hires clowns within the government, within its administration? What kind of show are you going to get, okay? You done got the chief and clown, and then he hired a bunch of ugly little minion clowns in every position. What kind of show are you going to get? Hey, that is right. You're going to get a clown show. And it's weird because, like, when the situation that we're going to be talking about, like, people seem to not understand when you have incompetence with just pure ignorance and just, vanity type of, entertainment, you're going to get a bunch of things that's going to screw up and is going to actually hurt people. None of these people know what they're doing. I would love to see their actual experience because I'm pretty sure 9 times out of 10, they are literally DEI hires in the understandings of what MAGA sees DEI. Like, these people do not deserve these positions. And we're gonna watch this montage of what's her name, Caroline Livette. Once again, don't really care, don't really matter. It's weird how they try to perceive themselves as, we know what we're doing. We're going to make America great again. This is the golden age. People are going to just lavish in just winning, but then they screw up like this. So let's go ahead and just read real quick of what the situation is, the executive order that started all of this, and then let's kind of see how they fumbled the ball in real time. So on January 27, 2025, the Trump administration, through the Office of Management and Budget, the OMB, issued a memorandum directing all federal agencies to temporarily pause the obligation or disbursement of federal financial assistance. This pause was intended to ensure that federal funds were not supporting programs misaligned with the administration's priorities, particularly those related to diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, initiatives, woke gender ideology, and environmental policies associated with the Green New Deal. Once again, what does that mean when it comes to not align with woke ideology? That's for them to figure out. I would literally probably go crazy trying to figure out what that really means and how that is supposed to be implemented. But let's listen to Caroline just give the American people the assurance that this is not going to screw up Medicaid for millions of people that need it.
And grant programs from the Trump administration. Individual assistance, that includes, I'm not naming everything that's included, but just to give you a few examples, Social Security benefits, Medicare benefits, food stamps, welfare benefits, assistance that is going directly to individuals will not be impacted by this pause. And I want to make that very clear to any Americans who are watching at home who may be a little bit confused about some of the media reporting. This administration, if you are receiving individual assistance from the federal government, you will still continue to receive that.
You were saying before on Medicaid, it wasn't clear to me whether you were saying that no Medicaid would be cut off. Obviously, a lot of this goes to states before it goes to individuals and so forth. So are you guaranteeing here that no individual now on Medicaid would see a cutoff because of the pause?
I'll check back on that and get back to you.
Hey, for some reason, she seemed a little unsure with that last question. After throughout this entire press conference, she said, we're not going to cut this off. We're not going to do this. President Trump, we're not going to do this. And then it happens. You see what I'm saying? When you elect a clown, you get clownery. Okay? But let's go ahead and go to Phil DeFranco and
tons of essential federal functions, including hundreds of billions of dollars in grants to state, local, and tribal governments, disaster relief aid, funding for transportation, homeless shelters, key programs that help the most vulnerable Americans, and much, much more. And the thing is, that even includes some projects that directly advance Trump's own agenda, like one that helps state and federal law enforcement counter drug trafficking organizations. But some of the biggest questions here have been how will this impact Medicaid and food stamps, which together are used by more than 100 million people. The memo said absolutely nothing about these essential programs, even while specifying that similar ones like Medicare and Social Security would not be impacted. And I mean, today, as I was filming this, we saw absolute chaos playing out in real time. When Trump's press secretary was asked whether Medicaid was frozen at a press conference, she was totally unable to answer the question, responding, "I'll check back on that." And she got so messy that the OMB issued another memo to agencies trying to clarify, saying that mandatory programs like Medicaid and SNAP will continue without pause. And then adding, among other programs, there also won't be pauses on funds for small businesses and farmers, Pell Grants for students, rental assistance, and Head Start, which promotes the school readiness for low-income families. With this new memo then also claiming that any program that provides direct benefits to Americans is explicitly excluded from the pause and exempted from this review process. But you also have people saying it's unclear what that means because a lot of federal money that goes to individuals is actually first given to states and organizations that then distribute it. And what's more,
so once again, I'm no political scholar here. I couldn't tell you every function and every piece of every mechanical part of this system, how it works and how it functions. I couldn't tell you that. But if I decide to make some crazy changes like this, trust me, either myself or I'm going to have people who do know how, if this executive order that I implement, what it's going to affect, how it's going to affect, and if we don't want it to affect a certain way, I need to make sure it doesn't do that. That's what I would do. But I guarantee you 9.9 times out of 10, he didn't do that. He just wrote out this executive order to try to prove some point against DEI and wokeness in a Green New Deal, and not understanding the implications of his executive order. He does not care, and the people around him have no idea of what they're doing. And just like the press secretary, it's not going to affect this. It's not going to affect this. It's not going. And then the fourth time she's asked, I'll get back to you on that. Well, I mean, it's a little too late because it's already affected people. Let's take a listen.
Or despite the new memo's claim that Medicaid won't be interrupted and Head Start wouldn't have funds paused, we saw numerous reports to the contrary. Providers who run Head Start programs reported today that they were unable to access federal funds because they lost access to the Federal Office of Head Start's payment site. You also had Senator Ron Wyden tweeting that his staff has confirmed reports that Medicaid portals are down in all 50 states following last night's federal funding freeze, with him then calling the move a blatant attempt to rip away health insurance from millions of Americans overnight and will get people killed. So then with that, we did see Trump's press secretary sharing a statement on X in the afternoon saying, "The White House is aware of the Medicaid website portal outage. We have confirmed no payments have been affected. They are still being processed and sent. We expect the portal will be back online shortly." And I mean, you've got experts saying that this will have a whole other host of sweeping ramifications with, for example, the chief executive of the National Council of Nonprofits saying in a statement, "From pausing research on cures for childhood cancer to halting food assistance, safety from domestic violence, and closing suicide hotlines, the impact of even a short pause in funding could be devastating and cost lives." And then claiming this order could decimate thousands of organizations and leave neighbors without the services they need.
So once again, hey, I don't think they understood the cause and effect of these executive orders when they're just trying to push these all out. I mean, I don't even know how many he's up to now, but they don't understand, hey, if we fail to plan, you plan to fail. That's simple. But once again, like, we shouldn't be really that, like, surprised, because this is the same guy. Hey, that's the same guy who had these concepts of a plan. Nothing really on paper, just concepts, ideas. Nothing on paper. And what happens when you do that? And you just start dishing out all these things just to prove a point. Oh no, all of a sudden the portal that she mentioned just kind of went down as if it was just like some technical issue, right? I mean, just a coincidence of the timing, right? I'm no conspiracy theory, but it just seems like it's some bullshit to me. But let's continue.
The potential impact could be absolutely astronomical, but also there's a question about the legality. Because you see, the Constitution grants the power of the purse to Congress, which has already approved these funds and directed where they go. And so you have budget experts saying that while the president is generally allowed to freeze spending for a period of time, certain conditions must be met first. For example, Trump would have to specify which budget accounts are frozen and he has to have certain justification, with one expert even saying that pauses over policy disagreements are not legal, which is also why we've already seen lawsuits being filed challenging this freeze and Democrats widely decrying this move as illegal. With this, including Representative Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, who tweeted, "Trump is holding all the nation's hospitals and vital services hostage to seize power from Congress and hand it over to billionaires." And adding, "We must state the truth. This is a constitutional crisis. It's a massive illegal power grab that the House and Senate have a sworn duty to stop."
Now, I like this only because it shows, it demonstrates that the democracy that we do have, once again, is not perfect. I know I done made videos about this. We can have that conversation. But the guardrails that we do have are there. Okay, got you. But once again, this is not Trump's first rodeo, and he already knows how or who he needs to go through and how to replace that person or those people or that institution with people who are just there to say yes. That's the problem right there. So once again, hey, file lawsuits, do whatever you have to do, take it to the courts, and if they deny it, I mean, some of the damage is already done, but if that happens, then okay. You know, like, the future may not seem so dim and dark, but it's some things to worry about, and once again, we gonna see.
And so all of that, probably the biggest pieces of news, at least for now. But there are also two other things I want to quickly hit on. The first is that the Justice Department, under new management, announced yesterday that it's fired more than a dozen officials who worked on the two special counsel investigations into Donald Trump. With the DOJ saying in a statement that Acting Attorney General James McHenry informed the employees that he, quote, does not trust these officials to assist in faithfully implementing the president's agenda. And in a letter sent to the fired officials that was obtained by the Washington Post, McHenry explicitly referenced Trump's repeated claims that the Biden administration weaponized law enforcement to undermine Biden's political enemies. But also here, we saw experts saying that this is actually exactly what Trump is doing with this move, going after his perceived opponents. But this, as they argue, it's not just political, saying that this move violates civil service protections for non-political employees and contradicts decades of civil service law that says employees can only be fired for misconduct or bad performance, not doing their jobs as directed.
Now, hey, that just kind of brings back to my point that I just last made. Trump is willing to fire, get rid of, replace, threaten, bully, whatever word that you want to add in there to get what he wants. And it's only going to be up to people who have values, who have standards, who have principles to say no. But I think that list is going to be very small. So once again, like, not me. Okay, people allowed an incompetent clown to get into office and it's going to screw things up. Hopefully not to the point to where it can't be fixed right away. But just like we've seen with Reagan, you implement legislation that can have decades of an effect that will affect millions of people down the road. So it is important that, once again, I'm going to say this anytime that I get, we have to put a spotlight on all these actions. Because then when things start crumbling down, people are going to be asking why. How did this happen? Why did this happen? Who did this? And of course, Trump and his administration is not going to accept any sort of accountability. It's going to be folks like myself and others who's going to be like, hey, on this day, you did X, Y, and Z, and now we are here because of incompetence and just legislation rooted in ignorance and hate. This is why we're here today. So, hey, subscribe, buckle up, get some popcorn, because I'm going to be covering everything. But once again, guys, if you agree or disagree with anything I said in this video, let me know in the comments down below, or hit that Discord button so me and you can have that one-on-one talk. And like always, let's have that conversation.